Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to you all. Welcome to another Conversations with Kristen on a Tuesday. Hopefully, you guys can see me and hear me just fine. We are talking about staying motivated. So I've recently had some engagement on social media, and one of the primary questions, which I actually am going to talk about some other things, but one of the primary questions that, or the pain points or the hangups that people have is around staying motivated. So I thought I would come on here with my VIP B3 crew people, right? Hey y'all, and give you guys these gems around how to stay motivated, say a little bit more about motivation so that you all can use that information for whatever it is that you may be trying to do. And I know that a lot of the essence behind what B3 talks about is your physical health, your mental health, all of the healths, right? But this could be for anything in your life. There's 8 areas of wellness, and all of them can be touched on by a goal that you want to achieve. So don't limit this information just to a physical exercise type of goal. This really is applicable to a lot of different things, okay? So, what I'm going to do is first, when we're talking about motivation, I want to talk about where to find it. Okay, that can be a big stumbling block for some people. Is where do you actually find your motivation? And there's two types of motivation that you can actually have, and I think it's important to know this in trying to find your motivation. So the first one is extrinsic motivation. All right, extrinsic motivation is a type of motivation that is set in place and set in motion by external factors. Extrinsic, external, right? So that could be the summer coming up. That could be a wedding. That could be a birthday. That could be um, information from your doctor that you need to lose 20 pounds, you need to lose 50 pounds, or you need to be more active because your doctor said so. It could be a new relationship, or the loss of a relationship can sometimes be those extrinsic motivators to start something new. It could be really anything that is outside of you that is influencing you. Okay, and again, this is applicable to a lot of different areas, not just physical health and exercise and routines and stuff like that. This can really go into a lot of things that motivate us, that are the motivators of our lives. So we have extrinsic motivation, again, which is that external influence on the things that we do. And then we have an intrinsic motivation, which is something that is solely rewarding to you. Okay, anybody have like a guilty pleasure, or just something, a hobby that nobody else enjoys with you, that nobody else quite gets, but you just like it? That is, it's not the same as being intrinsically motivated, but that is what we mean when we say it is solely rewarding you to engage in whatever it is. So when I plop down on my couch and I watch my little documentaries, it doesn't matter if anybody else is into it. I'm motivated to get started on my documentary because that's an intrinsic interest of mine to do so. Okay. And some aspects of my life, honestly, when it comes to habits and routines and that sort of thing, have become intrinsic to me as well. They didn't always start out that way. And I'll say that, for example, my drinking problem and getting sober started out as an extrinsic motivating thing. Okay. The consequences and the way my family was responding and the work and different things were the extrinsic motivators for me to get sober. But now, as I live my life as a sober person, it is intrinsic. Okay, it is an intrinsic desire to do so, which is why I've been able to maintain it for the time that I have, and will hopefully continue to do so. So that's the two options for where do you find your motivation. You've got to identify whether you're going off of extrinsic motivators or intrinsic motivators. Extrinsic, I'm getting my tongue tied now, but the external motivators are, you have to be careful with those. Those can be fleeting, okay? Because once the birthday's gone, once the break is over with, once the wedding is over with, what is your motivator now? Okay, once you lose the 20 pounds that your doctor recommended, then what are you still doing it for? And I think that's important to note, is that our extrinsic motivators can be a good jump start and create a lot of momentum, but it's almost always important to make sure that you are transitioning that motivation into something that is rewarding to you, because at the end of the day, you'll be the one carrying this out. Okay, so now let's talk about how do you stay motivated? Like, yep, got it, found it, and then lost it. I hear you. It's like, Kristen, I had it at the beginning of January. That would be an extrinsic motivator. The beginning of the year would be extrinsic. And then something happened and I lost it. I have no idea. No idea where it is. Well, I'm here to tell you that finding and keeping your motivation are going to require two different types of willingness and commitment. Okay? It is easy to get started with something because you have a natural dopamine release from engaging in something new. And then once that dopamine, that dopamine and the good feeling hormones that release into our bodies, once those don't necessarily hit the same, I guess you could say, that is where you really have to go find it. You have to go find the things that motivate you. It's not going to just come. The birthday is motivating you because it's coming, but once it's passed, it's no longer going to have that same kick for you. So you've got to go find it. And I'm going to tell you some ways to find it. But first, I'll say that motivation is fleeting. You may not always feel motivated. I'll be honest with you. It's not always a motivation-based thing when it comes to being disciplined and consistent. Motivation comes and goes. Consistency and discipline is really what fills in the gaps between those moments, okay? So how do you keep your motivation? You focus on the long term instead of the short term, okay? If your motivation, as we've been talking about, is a short-term goal or a short-term time period before you know from sheer time that you're going to lose the motivation, I would encourage you to find a more longer-term overarching goal that can kind of maybe coincide with some tangible short-term goals. But really, what's my ultimate goal? So for example, my ultimate goal for taking my vitamins, oh, this is a great one. Skincare, okay? There's really no day-to-day like thing. Maybe if you do a facial, maybe if you do a mask, you might see like immediate results. But really, skincare is a long-term goal. I'm motivated to wash, moisturize, the serums, the sunscreen, the this and that, because of what it will do for me 10 to 20 to 30 years from now. That would be an example of my motivator for this. It's not going to be because tomorrow I'm going to look different. It's to preserve how I will look long term. So that's a great way to translate your goals. Like, what's the overarching goal here that is the umbrella for the rest of these milestones? Set some tangible goals. That's another thing. So we got the long-term goal, but now set some tangible ones. Set some mile markers for yourself so that you can continue moving forward. Again, the issue with the birthday is that it comes and it goes and there's not another one until there's another one, right? But how can you start to implement some tangible goals for yourself, some celebratory things to just be excited about what you're doing into your process to help keep you motivated? Another thing that I'll mention, thirdly, is who are you surrounding yourself with, okay? If you have a lot of people around you that are either not trying to pursue the same things that you are, or are negative about the things that you're trying to pursue and not supportive and celebratory of those things, you've got to find your people. You got to find your people, which is why I love this group, because everyone that comes in here comes in with some sort of like-minded goal that we can all relate to, right? And so if you are finding that you are trying to stay motivated around people who just don't have the same interests or don't really get it or have something negative to say about how you're going about doing it and can't really support you in the ways that you need to be supported, you've got to go find and create that community for yourself. Let the people around you, let your environment encourage you. This is another thing I think about when I'm thinking about a group fitness, why I love it so much, is because we're not always motivated on our own to, push ourselves or to challenge ourselves in different ways. And that group fitness environment is a motivator. It's a motivator for me personally, and I imagine hopefully, some of you guys can relate to when you're in an environment with other people, it just brings a different energy to it that we can't always recreate on our own. Okay. And then the last thing that I'll say, so 4 tips for this for today, is you've got to learn to speak positively over the things that you're doing. A lot of the extrinsic motivators can sometimes have a negative hue to them. Like, oh gosh, I got to get it together because, oh, I don't want to be embarrassed, or, oh, I want to, I got to impress people, or the pressure, or the this, or, oh, I've let myself go, I've got to get it together. I can understand and hold space for those things, but ultimately you want to find some positive, joyful things that will help move you forward. And if it's always rooted in embarrassment, shame, comparison, guilt, that sort of thing, then it's going to be hard to keep that type of motivation going, okay? Because once you start to feel better and you don't feel shame anymore and you don't feel embarrassed anymore, that was your motivator that just went out the window. Now what are you going to do, right? So I would say that you got to find some ways to speak positively over what you're doing and to tap into some positive emotional experiences along the way. So saying that you hate this, or this is terrible, or oh, I don't want to, and I don't know, all of those types of things are just chipping away at your motivation over time. Every time you say it, okay? Some days you will have moments and that will chip away, but it doesn't have to be a reoccurring thing. And that's what we can take ownership over, is how can I continue to think and speak positively over this goal so that I'm looking forward to it, so that I'm excited, so that I'm at least at best neutral about doing it. But if I'm hating it and it's terrible and I don't want to do it and whatever else, then that means that I'm in the negative when it comes to generating the motivation that I need. Okay, so a couple of things that I want to review. What we talked about is you need to, in order to keep your motivation, you've got to find a long-term goal that actually motivates you to keep moving forward. Okay, so what is step away from the short-term chronological goals, timelines, and different events and occasions that usually kind of surround goals that we make. And what's the long-term goal here? Okay, the connection that I made with skincare. All right, the lotion you put on your face today, I mean, it'll keep you from being ashy, but honestly, those goals, what you're trying to get at is preservation of something over time. And that's the motivator for the daily, weekly maintenance of that. Okay, so skincare would be a great example of that. But of course, any goal has that type of capacity to it. You just have to identify what it is for you. Number 2 is setting up moments for celebration along the way. Okay, don't put it all so far off with that long-term goal that you don't necessarily enjoy the process. What are some things that you can implement? What are some smaller goals or some milestones that you can tap into that would help you to stay motivated when it becomes mundane? That's what we need those for. Number 3 is surround yourself with like-minded, motivating people. You need to find your tribe. You need to find your people around whatever it is that you're trying to do. You won't always have it yourself, but other people can fill in the gaps when you lack. Okay? And then the last thing is you personally speaking positively over the change that you're trying to experience. Okay? Negative self-talk, the negative affirmations around things, saying that you hate something, saying that it's terrible, when really it's like, actually, I'm trying to be a better person. Actually, I'm trying to be a healthier person. How can I incorporate that into my self-talk in order to keep myself motivated? And see where it takes you. See where it takes you to simply change the way you think and speak over what it is that you're trying to do. Okay? So that is all for today. Thank you all for joining on. I will be back next week with a new topic. So I look forward to chatting with you all. Let me know if you have any questions about anything, and I will see you later.